Hello and welcome to this video on free stroke and rest stroke technique. In this video, I'm going to go through a set of bullet points that I've written out that I think are really important distinctions for both stroke types and are really sort of gleaned from a lot of interactions with players and a lot of books. Some of this is really conventional kind of wisdom about scale playing, and then I think there are a few finer points that you may not have come across as of yet. So I hope this is helpful. You know, Segovia mentions in his original preface that we should practice the scales vigorously and then lightly. And I interpret that to mean rest stroke and free stroke. Although you could play a vigorous free stroke or rest stroke, and you can play a light rest stroke or free stroke, I think it is really beneficial to play with sort of a heavier, more powerful rest stroke. And then as you speed up, you sort of lay off of the rest stroke a bit and play more of a detached sort of free stroke. So we'll talk about some of the mechanics involved in both of these stroke types. So first of all, let's talk about some topics related to the free stroke. If I play the C major scale with free strokes, I play in such a way that the thumb is always on the string below the string I'm playing. When I say below, I mean in terms of the pitch, right? So I'm on the thicker string always with the thumb. So I start the scale with the thumb on the 6th string, and then as I cross over, and I'm playing on the 3rd string, let's say, my thumb is on the 4th string. As I play on the 2nd string, my thumb is on the 3rd string, etc. And the same thing when I come down. Now, if you look at my thumb, it's always sort of following, and I don't have to put a lot of weight or feel like I'm really hanging from that thumb. It's just there as a guide, and what it does is it gives me stability. It also keeps the fingers curved because the fingers are closer to the thumb, not far away and extended. And then because the fingers are curved, I'm much less likely to do this sort of thing, where I will inadvertently hit 2 strings at once in the free stroke. This is a very common mistake that is made in the free stroke. So the thumb serves those different purposes by following. So that's one really important thing. I want to mention actually in both stroke types, the way that the string crossing is done is by feeding the arm, the forearm. It's all done with the shoulder actually, all the way to the back. But I'm keeping my hand position pretty passive. In other words, the fingers aren't reaching across the strings like this so much as they're just following because the arm is feeding. So I think this is a really important thing that you're going to want to spend a lot of time on when you play scales, is the movement of the arm, and when you're playing free stroke, to keep the thumb in contact on the string below the string you are currently playing. So those are some topics about free stroke. Now, let's discuss rest stroke. Now, rest stroke in many respects is different, and in a few respects it's the same. One of the ways in which it's different is that the fingers, rather than being sort of rounded and curved, in a rest stroke, the fingers are more extended. And the reason is that you can experiment with this on your own, but if I play with an extended finger, the finger sort of glides through the string without a lot of resistance. But if I were to bring my thumb closer and curve the finger more and then try to play rest stroke, there's a lot of resistance. And then I see this a lot in players. The whole arm sort of moves with each rest stroke. So this becomes sort of an impossible way to play, really, especially if you're trying to play quick scales. So that's why in rest stroke, the fingers are more extended, they're farther away from the thumb. And the thumb, if you're playing on the low strings, the thumb might be in contact with the top of the guitar. And then as you move at a certain point, depending on the length of your fingers, at a certain point your thumb will touch the sixth string. So let's take a look at the C major scale as a rest stroke approach. Now, if I play index, my thumb is on the wood. I play index, extended finger. Sorry, I play index with an extended finger. Then middle, index. My thumb is touching the bass string. But this motion is still, this string crossing motion is still mostly done by feeding the arm across the lower bout. We call this the lower bout of the guitar, right? So those are some ideas about, wrist and arm mechanics with the stroke types. I think there are so many other topics we could talk about. One thing is the degree of rotation in the wrist, which helps to compensate for the different finger length. If I were to use my nail block here as a straight edge, your index finger is probably shorter than your middle finger, right? So this angle is crucial to making the fingers feel, sort of similar in resistance and sound. And so that's one issue. Another issue is how much arch to have in the wrist, or how flat the wrist is. These are things we should experiment with, all these different mechanics. But hopefully some of these pointers or these distinctions will be helpful for you while practicing the Segovia scales. Something you could do is play through the C major scale a number of times with the free stroke, keeping these details in mind, and then a number of times with the rest stroke, and see if you can kind of experiment with what is the same, like the motion of the arm, and of course the fingers are alternating in both strokes, and what is different. In the free stroke, the thumb follows and the fingers are more curved, and in the rest stroke, the thumb does not follow always on the string below, and the fingers are more extended. So this is really a lifetime study. I mean, we are, as players, we are constantly refining the strokes and kind of finding more and more detailed and specific ways of thinking about them to, get the hand in that ideal place as quickly as possible. But I hope some of this is helpful to you. Thanks, let's move forward.